All right, welcome everyone. Welcome back. Lovely to see you all as always. And let's start by going straight into the superpower state. So take a deep breath and either close your eyes or leave them open, whichever you prefer. And go into your superpower state, however you normally do that. So by using your word or phrase, or using your anchor, or by focusing in on everything you love about your subject. Good job. And now allow that opening from your heart, allow that expansion feeling in your chest as that light that shines out from you. That light, that energy, that is who you really are. Allow that to shine. Good job. And then allow that light or energy to spread down to your toes, up to the top of your head, and out to your fingertips. So you're now full of that light, that energy, that love. Very, very good. And then allow that light or energy to fill each of the 50 trillion cells that make up your body. Love each cell just for existing. Each cute little cell. And imagine that each of your cells is doing the same. Each of your cells has that ability to produce this light, this energy, this love. And that two-way flow between you and your cells of unconditional love. Very, very good. And now allow that light or energy to fill yourself as a child, or at any age. Love that little you just for existing. No judgment, no expectations, just love. Very good. And then allow that light or energy to overflow from that little you and fill your whole childhood. Allow that light, that energy to shine into everyone, everything, every experience, every event, every circumstance in your childhood. Shining this light into any darkness and loving it all. Good job. And now allow that light or energy to fill everyone who's on the call today. All those who are on camera, all those who are off camera today, loving each one just for existing. Very, very good. Good job. All right, you can open your eyes if you haven't done. And let's check in with everybody and find out how you're doing. So Lisa, you're first up on my screen. How are you doing?
I'm good. I think it's Thursday. Yeah, I've been seeing you lately on TED Talks. So every time I open the computer, I'll see the word TED Talks and there's Odille. And she's talking about her love.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting. It really is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I see you there already. This is from your book, your fabulous book that I love very much. Page 107. I feel like I'm reading the Bible or something. Okay, so which one was I doing? Okay, so I discovered not long ago that no matter what is happening around you, focusing on something beautiful and connecting with it can help you tune into your power in the moment. I found that colors are amazing, effective for this. I love that colors works really good. Or sitting in traffic, worrying about being late and feeling stressed. It works for all of that. So doing this exercise and loving whatever the outcome will be will mean it will have to turn out well, regardless of how it may appear in the current moment.
Wow. Thank you, Lisa. You always come up with these great nuggets that, it was because I sort of forget things and that. So I really appreciate your input. And while we're on that topic, yes, that the thing about color is that if you're able to focus in on a color, so we use it as part of the exercise of trying, getting into it. So imagine yourself surrounded by that color. But also, if you have a color in front of you, and it doesn't have to be your favorite, it can be any, if you allow yourself to get absorbed by that color and appreciate the beauty of it, it brings those stress chemicals down, starts producing feel-good chemicals. And I discovered that when, as I wrote in there about waiting in traffic or being in traffic and being late, I was in Gloucester in the UK, in England, driving somewhere, and I was late and I was stressed. I always got stressed about being late, and I was always late. And I was stressing, but of course that wasn't going to get me there any quicker. And I was in a traffic jam. And then I thought of the color thing, and I started just bringing my focus to the brake lights of the car in front of me, and really appreciating the vibrancy of that beautiful red, that, allowing myself to really just home in and focus on the red and the shiny. And that, I noticed, started to bring down those stress chemicals. So I was able to get into that state of unconditional love for whatever the outcome would be. And I can't actually remember right now whether I was late or not, or what happened, but I know that definitely helped bring that stress down. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. That really is wonderful.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And Cheryl, hi, how lovely to have you back with us. Oh,
yeah. So it's funny that you said that about color, because I went to get acupuncture the other day. If you see me doing this, it's because she left those little seeds in my ears. But she talks a lot. It's a naturopath, and she talks a lot about color. She'll ask me what colors I want, because it has to do with the chakras and energy. And she told me to wear colors that feel good to me, that's important too. My mother had given me this sweater, and I was like, oh, that's such a pretty color. So I've been wearing it for 3 days. But so as first, I want to thank you for your email, because it was like you were fishing and you pulled a fish out of the mud. I mean, I was just, I've just been really unable to pick myself up. I started to think this morning when I was watching the video that you sent me, and I thought, I always love listening in this group. I love this group. Every time I've ever gone on it, I've never failed to feel wonderful the minute I hear your voice. So I asked myself, why haven't I been coming? So I sort of traced it back, and I think what started for me was that I felt that I really want to be a good contributor to whatever I do in it. And so, and I told you this morning, I don't want you or Steve to be disappointed in me, or anyone in the group. So I can feel this pressure to be a certain way in the group, not to say something dumb or stupid, but I mean, at the same time, I allow myself to be vulnerable. But I don't like to be, I don't like when I've learned something and then I forget about it, and then I show that I've forgotten about it, or, that I'm stumbling or whatever. And so I think in the beginning, I was just like, oh, I have nothing good to say today. Look at me, I'm a mess. So it sort of started like that, and it just kept going because I wasn't coming back. So I wasn't lifting myself up out of my funk. So it just sort of kept going like that. And when I thought about that further, I said, I'm sort of a hypocrite, because when I listen to other people and they're having a problem, I don't judge them. I have compassion for them, and I have empathy for them. So I'm not giving that same consideration to myself. So thank you for pulling me out of it. I think, as I just said to Steve and Lisa a little while ago, when you're in that place of not feeling good, and you're in that dark, and you're focusing on all the bad things, and you're focusing on fear, all the things you're afraid of that are happening, sometimes it's hard to see that you're spiraling out of control the wrong way. So I was last night, when I emailed you, I was just so like, what am I going to do? And then I'm like, I'm just going to ask Odille because I know she'll help me.
I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did. Well done. Because that is one of the most difficult things. It's one of the most difficult things when it's you in it. And it's one of the most difficult things for many people to understand is that when you are in that dark place, reaching out for help is one of the most difficult and sometimes impossible things to do. And when you're in it, it's
Yeah.
wrong. And for those who aren't in it, I've heard people say, well, just reach out for help. It's not that easy when you're in that state because, for various reasons. And as I think a lot of you already know, I've been suicidal and very, very close to going through with it. And it's remarkable how much sense it made in that moment. This is definitely the best thing to do. And I don't, the thought occurred to me to speak to someone. I thought, no, there's no point in speaking to anybody. So that's what's so knowing that, number one, for when you're dealing with others who are going through something, and number two, most importantly, for yourself, knowing that it is part of it, and reaching out is not easy, but of course it is the answer. So whatever you do, so that you're not judging yourself for not wanting to reach out either, because it's difficult. It's everybody has that. So it's not, it's not you. So I'm very proud of you for reaching out to me, Cheryl. Thank you for doing that. And for everybody else listening to this, reach out. We have the Facebook groups, we have our YouTube videos. Just send a message or write in the Facebook groups, whatever you can manage. If you need some help, that's what we're here for. And we don't judge. we've been.
So can I ask you another question? So me being in this, this just like place, I mean, I have had some nice, I have nice moments in between or whatever, but what sort of happened was that someone who I love dearly is in a very dark place, like a really dark, like kind of like what you're describing. So I allowed that to just, take over me because I can't help the person. I can't do anything. So what I thought was that if I could get myself feeling better, that would be the best way to help them to feel better.
Right. And I have to tell you, I didn't say this in my reply to you in the email, but I'll say it now, is I have been there with the same situation. So I know how difficult that is. And I can also tell you that you are right, that getting yourself into that empowered state is the most effective way and the best chance you have of empowering that other person. And you can think of it to help you kind of remind yourself, you can think of it in a quagmire or a quicksand. And when you start feeling bad for them, you're getting into it with them. And two of you are in there and neither of you is going to get out. So they've got company, but it's not helpful. But if you keep yourself on firm ground, and that means keeping yourself in that strong emotional state or doing whatever you can, whatever it takes to get into that strong state. So getting yourself out of the quagmire first, getting your feet on firm ground and maintaining that, then you have the strength and the ability to hold out your hand and help them out.
I love that.
Okay, does that help?
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Because
thank you.
You're very welcome. The most powerful and empowering state we can be in is that state of unconditional love, and of course offering compassion and kindness. And whatever anyone's going through, there's all kinds of challenges and stuff, but compassion and kindness is going to be, that's a basic. So feeling safe And then compassion and kindness are basic human needs that we all need, even though we think it's, oh, we need money, we need this, we need that situation to change. All right. So does that help?
Very much, very much.
You're very welcome. And thank you so much for sharing here, Cheryl, because, you know, a lot of people go through that, what you've been through, including ourselves. Steve and I have both been there many times, but not everyone has the ability or the courage or whatever it is, or the programming to be able to share so that others can benefit from it. So I really appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty and your ability to share, because it will help so many others as well.
Well, I think that story was perfect, and I almost feel like I could have that conversation, with them and say, this is how how I see things, and I want to be here for you and help you, kind of, But that's a great analogy. Thank
Very
you.
good. And then if you do have that conversation, before you have the conversation, get into that state of unconditional love, fill them with unconditional love, and imagine them, love them no matter what they're experiencing, and no matter how they respond or react, or whether they do change or not, or whatever. Just maintain that love for them. Also, because, and this is going to depend on person's beliefs. So the basic bottom line that is undeniable and physical and scientific and logical is that obviously where we put our focus determines the chemicals we have produced, the brain's producing, which determines how we feel. So that is there. And then in addition to that, depending on a person's spiritual beliefs, what Steve and I believe, but we don't necessarily think we're right. We could, anybody could be right, who knows? But what makes the most sense for us is that all of us are connected, and that we are all we're all magnificent spiritual human beings having a physical experience. So when you start to look at those who are going through challenges in that way, and you recognize the real them. And so they're having this challenge at the moment, but they are not helpless victims. They are empowered. They're powerful beings. Then that also helps on that level. All right. Good job, Cheryl. Thank you so much for sharing.
I'd like to tag in with just a couple of additional words to that, but what's kind of resonating with me is that when we can see the other as those beings of unconditional love, those that state, whatever words we want to put around that, but it's really being able to see beyond the stories, the programs that we're buying into. So I know that Sadia was on yesterday, and she was talking a little bit about the fact that we're creating or projecting this movie in our mind about whatever we think is going on. So in this situation that you're dealing with, or you're describing, the person is so focused in on the movie that they're creating in their mind. That movie of victimhood and whatever is going on is so real for them. And if we jump into watching that movie with them, or buying into or believing that movie, what we're really essentially saying is, I don't believe in that bigger self that you really are, that true nature that you really are. I'm buying into your story, or your illusion or delusion of your smallness, of your victimhood, and that's not who you are. So getting into that place of unconditional love allows you to hold space for them. We can't change other people, but what we can do is we can hold that space for them. It's like, I see you as the true self that you really are.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Cheryl, for sharing that. That's wonderful. Good job. And Ilja says, question, yes, you may. Let me unmute yourself?
Hi, Odille.
Hi, Ilja.
So my question actually matches quite the topic, I think. What do you do if you want to make peace with your worst case scenario, and the worst case scenario is actually ending your life, and you cannot come up with any better solution? Is that then the best? Is that then the case in the scenario you need to make peace with, or do I need to keep on going until I find something better that I just cannot find?
Okay, Ilja, that is a fantastic question. And this is going to be really important for a lot of people. And so the answer to that is, you want to make peace with it, but you also want, so in other words, you don't want to resist it, because if you argue against it, then you produce, then you will answer it. And so you'll be arguing and you'll be pushing, it'll engage that part of your brain to keep justifying it. So what you want to do is go, I can do it. It's okay. I can do it, but I'm not going to do it now. If I still feel this way, so I will, whatever, I will watch TV or whatever. If I still want to do it tomorrow, then I can go ahead if I decide to. What that does is it takes the foot off the pressure, it takes a foot off the pedal, brings the pressure down and allows, which then stops that fighting, that struggle. And then, of course, do whatever it takes. So my sister actually was the one who came up with that. So she was suicidal and she made plans and all of that kind of thing, and several times. So this was a common thing with her, where she used to get into these incredibly dark places. And she came up with that technique for herself, where she would go, if I can, I'll do it, but not now. If I still feel the same way later or tomorrow, then I will go ahead. And she said in her experience, what happened was she would, for her, watching cartoons or watching football, meaning soccer for the Americans, not that it matters, I suppose, but she watched soccer, and she's not interested in soccer. It's just that seemed to calm her mind down. So it'll be different for different people. So then you do something that will feel even just a little bit better. And you won't feel like it, but you say, I'll listen to music, or I'll go for a walk and listen to an audiobook. And then later, if I still want to do it, I will go ahead and do it. So you're not fighting against it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But what if it keeps coming back? Is that okay? Like, it's not like, oh, I do this, I say this to myself like a few times or a few times a week, and then it's never coming back again.
So that technique is a temporary coping skill in the moment, just to prevent you doing it right now.
Okay.
All right. So in addition to that, you want to absolutely, number one, reach out for help. So, anybody watching this as well, reach out for help as soon as you can. And you can argue with yourself, or you can put the point to yourself as well. I will reach out for help. And if if I can't get help, then I can still do it. There's no rush to go through with this. So, that's sort of working with that part of you. And then, use the techniques that we teach. So, which means, using the color, using the superpower, and changing the childhood memories. So then you can use the allowing technique. So I feel like there's no point in carrying on living. How does that, where in my body do I then separate it from the meaning? Remember, separating the sensation, the physical sensation, from what it means. So for example, when I was there, I would have been, I was devastated. I was just so fed up trying. There was a lot there. So I was thinking there's no point in carrying on, and everything I thought of, there was no point. So then if I were to do the allowing technique back then, I would have gone, okay, so how does this feel in my body? What's the physical sensation? And then I had that pressure in my heart, that heartbreak feeling, that my heart hurt. That's how it felt. My heart hurt. My gut felt like tight, and my throat was closed. So now, when you're not doing the allowing technique, if you become aware of that, your brain automatically comes up with it's because of this and all these terrible things. So you want to make sure that you separate the physical sensation from the meaning. So you put the meaning aside for now, and then I would focus on, okay, so there's this hurt in my heart, and this tightness in my gut, and this pressure in my throat. So those are the physical sensations. So then I would bring my focus right down into the physical sensations. Maybe I take them one at a time if that's easier. So I might go, okay, so this hurting feeling in my heart, it's just a physical sensation. It doesn't mean anything. Now I allow it to be there. I allow that physical sensation to just be there. It's okay. It's okay to feel these physical sensations right now. And I do that until I'm able to feel a change. If, whether I feel a change or not, I might go into the pulling back and seeing it in front of me. What does this feeling need? What does it need right now? Can I give it to it? Or whatever that is. So that it's as you bring down those stress chemicals, then you can look at it and go, okay, so where in my childhood did I feel this? Or what is what's going on here? What's the worst thing about it? And so on.
So if that is something that is that keeps coming back as a last resort, and it's getting more attractive and attractive, there are also probably then childhood memories that drive this desperation and drive you into this.
So let's look at this, because I think this is valuable. So Ilja, when you think of that option, if you weren't to go through with that option, what's the alternative? What's the worst case scenario alternative? Or what's wrong with staying?
Yeah, that's unbearable for me.
Okay, very good. And so that feeling of that's unbearable, whatever that is, can you feel the feelings in your body?
Well, at the moment, I just feel like super emotional, and I feel that in my throat. I'm not sure if that's the unbearable feeling.
That's okay. You're doing very well, sweetheart. Good job. And you're helping others through this. So that feeling in your throat, I want you to just hone in on that feeling as a physical sensation. So you can put your hand on your leg to give you that reference for the fact that you're looking for something physical. Notice the sensation on your hand, the sensation on your leg, and then notice the physical feeling in your throat, whatever that is, putting aside the meaning. Can you do that?
I can.
Good job. And now I want you to allow that feeling to be there. That physical feeling, it's okay to feel it. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a physical sensation. Can you do that?
Yes, but it is tempting to slip into the thoughts that come up.
Yes, and the reason for that is because that's the conscious mind's job. So as soon as we feel anything, even before we're consciously aware that we're feeling something, the conscious mind finds the reason for it. And if there isn't a reason, it'll make something up. So based on references. So things don't have to be real for us to see them as a reason. So that's why it's difficult, but you can just keep bringing your attention back. So this is like an unruly dog, like a dog that hasn't been trained. And so the dog keeps wanting to run after the rabbit, and you just need to keep bringing it to heel, calmly and patiently, just redirecting, and eventually you'll train it that way. So as you bring that back to your the physical sensation, wherever that is, so your throat or wherever else, tell yourself that it's okay to feel these physical sensations. You're safe right now. You're not in danger. nothing's happening right now other than you're feeling some physical sensations and they don't mean anything. Are you able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Good, very, very good. And as you allow those feelings, those physical sensations, what happens?
Not much, actually. It feels
Oh,
like they're stuck.
okay, and that's okay. That's good. Now, are you able to step back from those feelings and imagine the feelings in front of you as like an entity? And if not, that's okay.
I can step back from it, but it's not that I then don't feel it anymore in my body.
That's
And
okay.
it's more like it's both. I feel it in my body and I see it outside of me.
That's right. Yes, that's exactly it. So it's not that you won't feel it anymore. It's just that you've got a little bit of a vision of it or a perspective of it.
Yeah.
Now, are you able to ask that feeling what it needs? And if not, or if you don't get an answer, that's okay, but just let me know if you do.
Well, it looks like it's shivering, so it seems cold.
Oh, bless its heart. All right.
So I would say like it needs something to warm it.
Right. And so can you think of something that you're able to give, imagine giving to that feeling that will warm it up, that will make it feel warm?
Yes, a lovely blanket.
Good. Very, very good, sweetheart. Excellent job. And so as you wrap that feeling in that lovely warm blanket, what happens?
There comes a feeling of more relaxation.
Good job. Very, very good, Ilja. And so
And I
now,
actually can feel that.
good. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And so what you're feeling physically in your body is the reduction of the stress chemicals and the production of feel-good chemicals. So you're feeling that the effects of that shift in real time.
Yeah, it's not gone, but you notice a shift.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And so it's like when you have a hot bath and you switch off the hot water tap and you switch on the cold water tap. It takes a little while, but you can feel it starting to change, right? So that's what's happening. So this is really good and a wonderful example, Ilja. Good job. So now let's look at the references. So that feeling of unbearable, anything come to mind from your childhood, and it may or may not be, it may appear to be unrelated, but the first thing that comes up. It may not make any sense. That's okay.
Nothing comes to mind with the feeling unbearable.
Okay, and that's okay. And so as you sort of think of your childhood right now, what's the first thing that comes to mind overall about anything?
From my childhood, it's okay actually.
Good. Okay. So
I need to dig deeper, but the overall feeling is okay.
good. So that's great. So we're just doing some detective work here. So that's the overall feeling is good. So now let's go a little bit deeper.
Now it sounds like I haven't changed anything but the childhood I did.
All right.
But I don't know. This feeling is something that I've always noticed
Right.
with my dad.
Very good. Good job. And so on that,
and it now just keeps it, and it now just comes back.
Yes, yes. And so on that topic, this is a great opportunity for me to share this as well. And I think we have said it before, but it's worth repeating, is that Steve and I also find this, and everybody finds it, that where you've changed something and then you're experiencing whatever, and you look and there's either it's still there or some other, or a piece of it is still there or whatever. It doesn't mean you didn't change it. It just means your brain has other separate data that it's pulling together. So it's okay. It's wonderful to find these things. Okay, so that uneasiness with your dad, when you go to your childhood, is there a specific memory that stands out or not?
No, not a specific memory. It's just like I see my dad and I know that he was like this.
He was like that. Okay.
Always.
Very good. And have you changed his childhood?
I have.
Good. All right. Very good. And so
But somehow I feel like now, because we started with the unbearable feeling, and now I have no idea. There's no specific memory, and I don't know how to relate it, but it feels like there is a connection to, I don't know if I find it unbearable that my dad is feeling this way, or that it is unbearable that something is going to happen because he feels something, but I don't know what it is. I cannot pinpoint it.
and that's okay. That's good. You're doing incredibly well. So that, so I want you to.
And is that okay? So if there's nothing specific comes up, then it's still something you can work with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's, and this is how, right? So I want you to imagine, so little Ilja, with your dad, just any scene, just imagine that you're looking at the little you with your dad, and what is the scene there? How does it feel, or what's happening?
When I try to make it positive,
or just what
something is stopping me.
Yeah, good. And so even so, when you, without trying to make it positive, just what actually comes up all by itself?
That I want my dad's attention.
Good. There it is. Very good, sweetheart. And so I'm assuming you didn't get his attention, or didn't get it enough?
Not in real life, no. Not the way I would have wanted it.
Wow. Good. And
or
so,
needed it.
Yeah. And all children need it. So what would be the ideal? What would you have wanted, that little you, what would that look like if he had been the person who would give his daughter the attention she deserved and should have had? Can you pick one scene that would represent that for you?
Yeah, but it has to be, it's not just about the scene. My dad needs to feel okay himself as well.
Nice.
It's not about just creating a positive scene, because it's his feeling that is doing something to the whole scene.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
And the way I react to it.
Yes. Okay. Very
without
good.
Words.
Yes. So let's do this. Let's go back to him, little boy, your dad, as a little child, and his parents. And what comes up when you think of that?
I think he wanted the same.
Of course. That's where he learned how to be with children, the way he was treated. So can you imagine his parents giving him the attention that he deserved and should have had as a little boy?
I can.
Good. Very, very good. And so you want to practice that until it's really strong and established, and then come forward and imagine if he had been raised like that, he would have automatically treated you the same way. And
but it's weird that because I've just like I said, I have changed his childhood, my childhood. But this is a specific feeling that is coming back.
It's a little piece of data that was separate. Do you see?
And that needs some extra work.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Because bearing in mind that memories and, memories of experiences and that are not stored as whole things. They're stored as data throughout the whole brain. And when we sleep and, as memories consolidate, the brain separates pieces of data effectively. So, and stores it in all different places. And some of it gets moved to long-term memory. Some of it is not moved to long-term memory because it's considered not important enough. So there's all kinds of processing that goes on. So when we pull up a memory, we're pulling up pieces of data, but it's not always complete. So there's other pieces somewhere. So we change this piece, this part of the memory, or the thing that we think is the whole memory, and then another time another trigger happens, or as we change, as the brain starts changing, it fires other neural networks from long time, from separate pieces, and that pulls it up as the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. That's also because that's why we also do these stepping stones.
Right.
So to have all these data in our subconscious.
Exactly. So now you want to practice your dad's childhood with his parents giving him what he should have had, because what happened was he probably grew up feeling that similar thing, and then you picked it up from him, and his parents probably had the same thing. So and because children learn mostly through osmosis, mostly from experiencing, witnessing unconsciously, we are not conscious of the fact that we're learning specifically this, that, and the other from these people. So
and there wasn't much talking. There was a lot of, I will show you how you need to behave. So it's not like, oh, I will tell you this, so you need to guess, more like, oh, this is correct behavior, this is not correct behavior, and
yes.
So now I'm not sure what it is, but maybe it is like the unbearable feeling of, like, the feeling of what my dad is feeling is an unbearable feeling that maybe I picked up, but also like the rejection will be unbearable.
Exactly. And the reason it's unbearable is because it's survival.
Yeah.
To the brain, to that part of the brain, if you are rejected, you will die, because nobody will feed you apart from anything else and protect you. So that's why it's so strong. And that's why it's so difficult to pull out of, because it's survival state, and so nothing else matters. So changing his childhood and his parents like that, and then seeing him now, what I want to add is, from what you've just said, I would add, so you get his attention and all of that, everything you should have had, and in addition to that, he explains it to you. He speaks to you, and you can do a stepping stone, if you like, where he explains, I grew up like that, and I don't want to be the same. I don't want to make the same mistake with you. Or
that's a good, that I hadn't added. That's a good stepping stone.
Yes. So he speaks to you and he says, sweetie, I'm doing my best not to repeat the same patterns, because I don't want to be like them. I want to be the father you should have, you deserve, or whatever. You can make it strong like that. Sound good?
Yeah, and it makes, sometimes you just doubt yourself when you think, well, I have changed it all, and then you start doubting again, and now I'm like, okay, but maybe this is just a specific piece of data what needs a little bit more extra care and attention, some extra TLC to establish it.
Exactly.
Because it is, well, related to something much bigger and how I now feel.
Right, exactly, spot on, Ilja. Very good. And so then once you've changed it, then you can practice that over and over. And then you can think about, okay, so now how do I feel about what's going on now?
Okay. Yeah, but I will first focus more on his childhood and my childhood, and then see how it will feel.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to jump in with a couple of things. First, I just want to underscore that this is a very typical part of the process, that finding additional bits of information. And I know that even though the thought didn't occur to me last week when I was in the middle of it, but I went through a very similar process last week, dealing with another bit of information, and that feeling of like, but I've dealt with this thing. I've changed all the memories. It's like, I can't be back here again. It was like, it would have been perfect if I, would have fired up the video camera to, for people to see this is just part of the process, and it's okay. And I was like, oh. And then I was able to find that link and to be able to realize that it was something that was to do with, a parent. And I ended up having to go back and change some more information that was back there regarding, you know, their family. So that was one. The second thing that I wanted to jump in on is, as you're doing this, if you feel any resistance or it feels like something is still sticking, another thing that you may want to try is imagining the adult you of right now being an advocate for your father as a child and helping him write a due justice letter. So
Mm-hmm.
what is it that little him would most want to say to whomever?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Very
just
helpful. Yeah.
another little thing that you can add to that. And I just kind of wanted to add that to the, you know, to the recording for others to hear too as well.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you, Odille.
You're very welcome. Graag gedaan. Good job, Ilja. All right. So I see there's another question. How to be alongside with ESC with someone saying he wants to commit suicide and who doesn't want to hear from ESC? Yeah. Okay. So it depends. Okay, it depends on the situation. So, of course, and this is for everybody watching this, the most important thing, the top priority is to reach out for help. There are plenty of resources. So suicide hotlines, that kind of thing, that's your first go-to, is the professionals who specialize in suicidal issues. Okay, so that's the first step. The second part of this is, if someone's saying they want to commit suicide, it's going to depend on the person and your relationship with them and what's happening for them at the time. And there's, you know, it's difficult to say what you should say to them, but what you can do is take control of how you are feeling. So inside your own self, make sure that you get into that state of unconditional love. Do whatever you do whatever it takes. So do the superpower exercise. Start by focusing on a color, if you need to. Just think of your color, surrounded by it, get into that state, and then love that person exactly as they are, no matter what. And then in dealing with them, but you need to be in that state first, and then dealing with them, listen to them without judgment and without trying to stop them speaking or explain to them, because we have a compulsion to make people feel better. So very often we try and stop them from speaking. So allow them to speak. And if they say, and now, so I want to reiterate, I'm not an expert on suicide. So it's very important to look for those resources from the professionals who they specialize in this. But from my own, you know, what I have, if it was me, I would say, they say they want to commit suicide, I would say, okay. And, you know, how does that feel? What's making you want to do that? Or, you know, what is drawing you to that? Something like that, to get them to talk, not to stop them from committing suicide, but to get them to talk, because being able to talk and express themselves is the first step, I think. So encouraging them to talk about what it is, what's going on, taking them seriously, very importantly, taking them seriously and being kind and compassionate and allowing them to talk. In other words, letting them feel understood. Whether you agree with them or not doesn't matter, but understanding or letting them feel that you understand. So I hope that helps. If you need more, unmute yourself and we can do a little bit of you know, question answer thing on it. Hi, Sylvie.
Hi. It's a particular situation. I don't want to say too much online, but each time when I want to separate myself, that's when that person says that he's going to commit suicide.
Okay.
And there I care about him, but I don't want to stay in the situation.
I get that. Okay.
It is really difficult to say, well, okay, I don't care, do that. And
yes.
It's not, it can't be that way.
Yes. And your app, and thank you so much for this, because this is a very common thing. And I've had friends who, you know, were in that situation. I know this very well. So you don't want to be unfeeling, of course. You don't want to go, well, fine, go ahead. But you also don't want to be in a situation where you are putting up with something that you don't want to be, having experiences you don't want to have it just because you're frightened because the other person may. Because ultimately, everyone is responsible for their own self, their own feelings, their own experiences, even if they don't know that. So here's what I would do if it was me. If someone was saying, if I wanted to leave a situation and someone said to me, if you leave, I'm going to kill myself, I would say, okay, I don't want you to do that. You're too important to the world to do that. And I do care about you. But at the same time, I cannot stay just because of that, because that's not, that's not within my power to make you feel anything. And so what I recommend is that you find, you can give them resources or whatever, because they may or may not mean it. And it's not worth taking the chance that they don't mean it in case they do mean it. And in case they do push themselves to that edge. So you want to be, and perhaps actually what I would do probably is say, okay, thank you for telling me. I'm going to help you I'm going to get some help for you. All right.
That's what I've done. Yeah, that's what I've done. And I have a very strong feeling of being uncomfortable, of being so important for somebody.
Right. Okay.
And I say this is not love. This is something totally different. And I feel so bad to be to have so much power on somebody.
Right. So that's a different thing. See.
Yeah.
So you've got their thing, and then now that feeling, that being uncomfortable with having so much power over someone, that's a reference in you. Of course, that has nothing to do with them. So that is. So you have that discomfort with having so much power over someone. What does it mean to you that you have that power over someone, or that you're that important to someone, or whatever that is? What's wrong?
The first move inside of me was to connect that directly to my childhood in dictatorship, where somebody has so much power, death and life, power over people.
Right.
And being in that situation, maybe it's too much to say that, but I'm really I can't say that this is love. I have really the impression that it's something else, and that I don't want that power. I don't want the power of life and death on somebody.
And that's definitely where it's coming from. So first of all, it's important to recognize that reference is separate from what you're experiencing now. It's not the same situation, but it is the reference for it. And that it's not love. Of course, it's not love. It's survival, okay, and it's reliance and all that. But the fact that it's not love is not a problem. It's just, that's what it is. So it's not love, it's dependence. And so then you want to be strategic and go, okay, so what do we do about it? Rather than getting caught up in the feeling like this is not love, this is not love, this is not love, or trying to convince that it's not love. It's not love, and that's okay. And so then you're empowered to take the next step. So separate things here. So you want to take the action of whatever action that you're taking as far as the threats of suicide go. And then in addition to that, of course, you want to go into yourself and change whatever those references are from your childhood. Because what we're aiming for is to get to the point where you don't feel triggered by it. You're just recognizing it as this person, obviously, bless their hearts, but they've got their own references and they need some help. And I'm not the person to help them. They need a professional.
And not feeling guilty all the time.
Right. And guilt is not coming from now. The guilt is coming from childhood. So you want to change that as well. Because the guilt has nothing to do with this person or the situation you're in. Does that?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Good job. Thank you for sharing. All right. So is that it, Steve, from the chat? Great. And if you could send me the targets, please. And if we could add Natasha to the targets, if you haven't added her already. Thank you. All right. So take a deep breath and either close your eyes or leave them open, whichever you prefer. And go into your superpower state, however you normally do that, using a word or phrase or your anchor, or by focusing in on everything you love and appreciate about your target, your subject. Very good. And allow that light, that energy to fill your whole body. Feel your heart opening, that expansion feeling in your chest. And allow that light or energy to fill all the cells of your body. And feel that love, that light, that energy shining out from each cell, flowing back to you. Very good. Good job. And now allow that light or energy to fill your subject. And then imagine your subject either doesn't want to be with you or doesn't have the qualities that you love and admire, and keep them filled with that light, that energy anyway, no matter what. Good, very good. And now let's go to Lisa. Fill Lisa with this same light, this energy, from the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Lisa just for existing. Very good. And then to Cheryl. Fill Cheryl with that same light, that energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Cheryl just for existing. Very good job. And now to Natasha. Fill Natasha with this same light, this energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Natasha just for existing. And then allow that light or energy to overflow from Natasha and fill the interview she's doing today. Fill that version of Natasha in the interview. Allow it to overflow from her no matter what's going on. Fill the whole interview, the people involved, all the other applicants, everything, and the results, whatever the results are. Shine this light into all darkness and love everything and everyone anyway, no matter what. Very good job. And now to Carrie. Fill Carrie with this same light, this energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Carrie just for existing. And allow that light, that energy to overflow from Carrie and fill everyone's childhood, everyone on the call and everyone in the world. Loving everything, everyone, every childhood exactly as it is, shining light into any darkness. Loving everything, everyone. No judgment, no expectations. Just love. Very good. And now to Ilja. Fill Ilja with this same light, this energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Ilja just for existing. into Sylvie. Fill Sylvie with this same light, this energy, from the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Sylvie just for existing. Good job. And now to yourself later today. Fill that version of you with this light, this energy, this love, no matter what you'll be feeling or experiencing or doing. No judgment, no expectations. Love that version of you. Good job. And now to everyone who's off camera today and all those watching the recording, love each one just for existing. Filling each one with this light, this energy, this love. Very good job. And surge. Good job, and surge again. Very good. Good job. You can open your eyes if you have them closed. And just a reminder for those who are in our one-to-one program that the Inner Circle meeting is in just under an hour, 12 noon Central, and you should have a link in your email for that. And if you don't, let us know and we'll resend it to you. All right. You're very welcome, everyone. Thank you for the thank yous. And we will see you again, same time, same place tomorrow. Lots of love to all of you. Bye.